everyone. Welcome to your Business Brief. I'm Sarah Kelly in Berlin. On Sunday, Roberto Azevedo is set to take over as head of the World Trade Organization. Well, the Brazilian will need to hit the ground running if he wants to make progress on relaunching the Doha round talks aimed at lowering trade barriers around the world. His first chance to get them going will be at an upcoming WTO talk in Bali in December. Let's get a check now at the challenges that he faces and the legacy that his predecessor leaves behind.
Transcending borders and eliminating trade tariffs are two of the primary goals of the World Trade Organization, now boasting 159 members. But its rules are not binding under international law. Economic policy analyst Marcel Fretscher sees the group's role as promoting dialogue. The WTO has credibility as an institution. It's played an important role, above all as a mediator in frequent bilateral trade disputes. Recently, the European Union filed a complaint against Russia at the WTO. The arbitration proceedings over import tariffs for foreign vehicles are still in progress. The greatest challenge for outgoing Director General Pascal Lamy was reaching a global free trade agreement, but his efforts failed. Bilateral agreements between individual countries have taken center stage, pushing multilateral solutions into the background. Currently, the EU alone is negotiating several free trade deals. For example, with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which includes the Philippines and Indonesia. South America is represented by Mercosur, and the EU is negotiating with India and Canada as well. Incoming Chief Roberto Azevedo faces a new kind of challenge, ensuring that the WTO doesn't become meaningless. He has to bring individual members to a common negotiating table and convince them that global solutions are the future.
And for more, let's turn now to Rolf Langhammer. He's an international trade analyst with the Kiel Institute for the World Economy. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Pascal Lamy spent 8 years at the head of the WTO. How do you grade his performance?
Well, he was extremely active, he was extremely engaged, but ultimately he was unsuccessful in both bringing the Doha round to a successful conclusion, and he was unable to contain the flood of bilateral and regional agreements. These are, of course, to some extent WTO inconsistent. So, two failures, but I wouldn't blame him for that. That is the fault of the big member states.
And now, we heard earlier about the goal of a global
of globalization, and globalization is equated with trade liberalization, and in this respect the member states show little political will to go ahead with globalization and trade liberalization.
Now, given all of these bilateral trade efforts, what role do you think the WTO does and can take when it comes to free trade agreements?
Well, the WTO can be a monitor and guidance for consistency with WTO rules. That means non-discrimination of all member states. That is very important. And, of course, the WTO is a center of excellence and expertise and knowledge, and can help, of course, to bring these negotiations to a better result.
Rolf Langhammer, thank you very much for joining us. Well, now the U.S. economy grew at a faster pace in the second quarter than previously thought. The Commerce Department said the economy expanded at an annual rate of 2.5%. That's sharply higher than the original estimate of 1.7%. Exports played a key role. They surged more than 8% between April and June. Domestic consumption also increased significantly. All right, time now for a check on how stocks have been winding out what was a very volatile week. We have this report.
July industrial production rose sharply in Japan, while consumer prices climbed for a second straight month. Both developments are goals of the Japanese government's massive stimulus program aimed at promoting growth. Investors responded positively in early trading on Friday, but as the day wore on, the pessimists gained the upper hand. The Nikkei average lost 0.5% to close at 13,388. Investors in Hong Kong remain cautious ahead of Chinese manufacturing data expected in the coming days, but the Hang Seng Index managed a slight gain to close at 21,731. It was a different story in Shanghai, where investors are looking on the bright side. The trading week ended on a positive note, with a monthly gain of 5.2% for China's Shanghai Composite.
Well, it looks like car makers might be able to look forward to some brighter days ahead. The accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers